السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا Muhammad وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. All praise is due to Allah, and may Allah's peace and blessings be upon His final messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as He deserves to be praised, praiseworthy. Welcome to another session of Ramadan Islamic Perspective, where we answer the questions that are sent to us regarding fasting, zakah, umrah, and matters of Ramadan in general. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to aid us in saying what is right. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from saying what is wrong and to protect us from the evil of our actions. We seek aid in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We start with the first question for today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So this is a question that we addressed in the previous episode, so let's read it out. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shaykh, my zakah is after Ramadan. Is it allowed to if I pay it in Ramadan, so around 1 month before its time? So let's address this. We started talking about this issue, is it permissible for a person to pay his zakah before the time of zakah? So he has the nisab. The nisab right now is 22,000, around 22,000. So if a person has an amount of money which is 22,000 dirhams, or let's say 22,500, okay, and he has this amount of money in his bank account. Now, is he required to pay zakah now? No, he has to wait for 12 lunar months to pass. From the day he has this amount in his hand, he has to count 12 lunar months. During these 12 lunar months, if the amount of money that he has went below 22,500, then he stops counting. Once he gets money and it's more than 22,500, he starts counting again. So if it's 22,500 and it stays this amount or more for 12 consecutive lunar months, now he has to pay what? 2.5% of the amount that he has, and from every zakatable money that he has. So the question here is saying, let's say that I want to pay my zakah after the completion, he said 1 month. So after the completion of 11 months, so not 12 months, 11 months. At the end of 11 months, he wants to pay the zakah because there's a need. Maybe he found a family of needy people. So he's saying, can I pay it at the end of 11 months before the time of zakah? Yes, it's permissible, no problem. But if he pays it at end of 11 months, after 1 month, which is the time of zakah, he recalculates the zakah. So he says, let's say he paid an amount of 2,000 dirhams as zakah. So after the completion of 12 months, he counts how much money he has and he adds the 2,000 that he paid for zakah. And then the total amount of money, he recalculates zakah. Is it more than what he has given, or is it less? If it's less, then alhamdulillah, he has paid zakah properly. And he paid even more. Like, what if it was more? Let's say after calculating, after he got some money and he wants to include it in zakah, and he added the 2,000, so he calculated the zakah, turned out to be 2,500. What did he pay before? He paid 2,000. So he has to pay now, what? 500 dirhams as zakah. 500 dirhams as zakah. طيب. Of course, this is as an estimation. Why do we say this? Because not every money that you get, you have to pay zakah on the date, because if this money was more than 22,500, okay, you still have to start another new 12 months. So that's why we say to those people who have salaries, some people say nowadays, Sheikh, everyone has a monthly salary, and we keep on accumulating a little bit from every month. طيب, and if it happens more than 22,500, then we pay zakah once in a year. We say this is the best way to do it. Say خلاص, once per year, whether it's first Dhul Hijjah, 15 Ramadan. Okay, there's no date that is, it's preferable to be in a certain date. Everyone is different. So you check one date. You take 1 day per year, and on that day you calculate everything that you have, given that's more than the nisab. Okay, so more than 22,500 in this case, because this fluctuates depending on the price of gold. So you calculate everything that you have and you pay 2.5% on that day. Okay. Now you might be saying, Sheikh, some of the money that I got before this day has been in my bank account for 1 month. Some money has been for 10 months. Some money has been for 1 year. You're right. That's why we say it's an estimate. It makes your life easier and it's better for the poor. So you end up paying a bit more. You end up paying more for zakah. And this is better for the poor, and this is easier for calculation. Now you want the detailed one. It's whenever you have 22,500, for each amount that you have of 22,500, you start counting one whole year. So imagine you might end up paying a zakah every month if you do it this way. And then you have to calculate which amount of money was less than 22,500, and then once it goes back, you recalculate. So it's a bit tiring. But this, alhamdulillah, it's better for the poor, and it's easier to apply, and it's very practical. So this is regarding the first part of your question. Now you said there's a very interesting part. You said another matter is that I have around 200,000 dirhams in installments. So he has debt. He has a debt of 200,000. But look at this. He said installments to be paid over 4 years. Installments, be careful. He said installments to be paid in 4 years. So this is very important to know. He said, do I deduct this from my total wealth before calculating zakah? So what he's saying is that, first of all, does debt affect zakah? Yes, definitely debt does affect zakah. So if you have an amount of money, let's say you have 100,000 dirhams, alhamdulillah, that had stayed with you for one lunar year. So now this money is zakatable. You have to pay zakah 2.5%. But wait a second, you have a debt of, let's say, 30,000 dirhams. This is a debt, and this is a debt that has expired in the sense that the person wants his money now. So here, can you say to yourself, okay, I'm not gonna include this 30,000 because I have to pay to Ahmed or Khalid or whoever it is. So you say to yourself, I'm gonna pay. You do not include this 30. So it's as if that 30,000, the right of 30,000 belong to this man. So it does not belong to you. So you do not include it in zakah. So you pay this 30,000 to this man. Okay, and then you calculate your zakah. طيب. Now this is how it is. But in this question, as I mentioned, you do not calculate, you do not say 200,000 is debt, so I'm going to deduct 200,000 from my money. We do not say this. Why? Because he said he's already paying it in installments. And a debt that did not, the time of debt is deferred now. This is a deferred debt. And the installments are paid directly. So this should not be included in the calculation. This should not be taken into consideration. So this 200,000, just does not affect your money that you have with you. Why? Because I'm assuming that when you say installments, you're paying the installments on a monthly basis. So khalas, you're paying the right every month. So what's left, what you still have to pay, this does not affect the money that you have, because every month you're paying the installments and that's it. And what you have left, khalas, if you have more than 25,000 and the whole lunar year has passed, you still have to pay your zakah. Okay? So this is considered a deferred debt. But if it was that this was not deferred and you're required to pay, but you're a procrastinating debtor, so you're not paying your money. You're always procrastinating, as they say. So he owes you, you owe him 200,000. And you're saying, my money is now 100,000, and Sheikh, do I have to pay zakah? We say, no, do not pay zakah because you already owe 200,000 to this other person. So you should pay as much as you can to this person. It's a right. Yeah? He has more right to this money than you. طيب. So this debt should be settled. So how can you pay zakah? You should pay, if they have money, you should pay it to its rightful owners, which is the person who has given you the debt, who has loaned you money. So deferred installments, they're not included in the calculation because these installments just take from your money automatically. So you don't need to worry about this. But debt that is, that the bank is asking you, or the bank or the institution is asking for its money, you have to give them the money, and you do not pay zakah. This money is not zakatable. What's right is this money belongs to this institution or to this person. You have to give it on time. It's their right. Okay. والله أعلم. طيب. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. I have a doubt. I know that sitting with parents and taking care of them is very rewarding. But in Ramadan, I have doubts that visiting and sitting with mom takes time from my Quran. takes time from my Quran word. Any advice on the matter? Allah. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. Brothers and sisters, do not fall into the trap of the shaitan. Do not fall into the trap of the shaitan. The shaitan might come to you and say, he might take you away from a great worship to another worship which is less in reward. So the shaitan might first try to take you to commit sins. If he's unable to do this, he's going to try and turn you away from a greater worship to a less rewarding worship, to a worship that is a priority for you, to a worship that is not a priority for you. And then giving you arguments that this is better than the first. This is exactly what's happening here. So the sister is saying, or this brother is saying that, they want, so see, he say, I know that sitting with parents and taking care of them is very rewarding. But in Ramadan, I have doubts that visiting and sitting with mother, takes time from my Quran word. Any advice on the matter? What does the Quran tell you? This Quran that you're reciting, what does it tell you? Doesn't it tell you to take care of the parents? Not in one verse, not in two verses, in many verses, in many different styles, many different rulings. Some rulings explaining who the mother is, some rulings saying their rights upon you is great, some rulings mentioning that the rights of the parents are close to the right of Allah, mentioned directly after the right of Allah, before mentioning other things. Which shows you this is part of the beauty of our religion, giving everyone his right, starting with the right of the Creator himself, subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is to be worshipped alone because he is the Creator. But the Creator himself is telling you that you should respect your parents, you should take care of your parents, you should be, subhanallah, giving your parents the best of your time. Is this not a worship? Definitely this is a worship. And this Quran that you're reciting, that you fear that sitting with your mother will take more time from the Quran. Subhanallah, if you sat with your parents and you brought happiness to them, wallahi, this is part of acting upon the Quran that you recite. So balance is key. So we do not say decrease what you used to do with your parents. No, because taking care of your parents is also a worship, especially if they need you, especially if they're old parents, they even need more care. And don't think that taking care of your parents means, that taking them to the washroom or feeding them. Sometimes the simplest things makes a huge difference. What do parents want? What do you think they want? They want money? They want food? No. You know what they want? They want good companionship. They want someone to sit with them and to listen to what they have to say. And this brings happiness to their hearts, seeing that their children are with them, that they're listening to them, and that they're talking to them and the child is listening. This to them, just having your child with you, for them is extreme happiness. So imagine putting the happiness in the hearts of the parents. How much reward is this? And isn't this acting on the Quran? And you have, alhamdulillah, the rest of the day to recite the Quran, no problem. So we say that if you mean that on a weekly basis, for example, you used to visit your parents and now in Ramadan you want to decrease this, we say no, keep it the same. If it doesn't bother the parents, keep it the same, or even add a bit more. You will find that, look, acting on the Quran will bless your recitation. SubhanAllah, maybe you visiting your parents, sitting with them, Allah will put so much blessing in your time. You will be able to do much more khair compared to you being alone. Especially if your parents required you and needed you to be there, and you did not have any other obligation. We're no longer talking about preferred actions. We're talking about wajib. If they need you, it's an obligation for you, to fulfill their need. If they do not need you, but they're happy with your company, alhamdulillah, that's a mustahab. So it depends. If you're living with them, of course, sitting with them, it might not take a lot of time. Listening to what they have to say, and then go and recite Quran. If you're just visiting, do your word reciting of the Quran, your worship, taking care of your husband or your wife, and every now and then go and visit them and seek the reward in this blessed time. Connect ties of kinship. This, wallahi al-azim, brings so much blessing, and it's a door of rizq and provision. And subhanAllah, it increases your lifespan. Yes, as the Messenger Muhammad ﷺ has mentioned that whoever wants to increase his lifespan, let him what? Connect ties of kinship. Now scholars have said, how can a person increase his lifespan? It could be for one of two things. It could mean that your life literally increases. So instead of living 60 years, you're going to live 65 or more, Allahu A'lam. This is the literal meaning. Or it could mean that there'll be so much blessing in your life that you will do much more compared to if you did not connect ties of kinship. And we see this all the time. You find someone who passes away at the age of 30 and he has done so much for this ummah. And he has so many good deeds. And his name is mentioned. And we see people who might pass after spending 100 years. But subhanAllah, when you compare, he has done much less than that who passed away at the age of 30. So it's not about numbers. It's about barakah from Allah. And of the causes of barakah is what? Connecting ties of kinship. Subhanallah. So I say, do not hesitate. Go if you have an opportunity to benefit your parents, whether financially or taking care of them or giving them your good companionship. Don't think twice. My advice, do not think twice. Even you're saying word of Quran, do not think twice. You know why? These doors are limited. Parents might leave us at any time. And once they leave us, you will have no chance to go back to them again. And then, wallahi, you will regret the moments that you had to sit with them and you did not. And it's a door of khair that closes. So my advice, do not miss out on these opportunities. These opportunities come and they go. They have a limited time. And inshallah, you can recite Quran later. But once these doors of good are closed, khalas. You still subhanAllah, you still have to make dua for them. But, giving them your good companionship, they might do a dua for you. You might gain the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the blessings from Allah. That will affect your whole life. That will change your whole life. So do not underestimate, parents and taking care of them. Wallahu alam. So with this, inshallah, we will end for today. And inshallah, we'll meet you again tomorrow with another session. هذا والله أعلم وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم جزاكم الله خيرا.